Well, tough one for the Philadelphia 76ers. I think most expected, but not the way that it played out for you here on this Sunday afternoon. Sixers fall 129-104 in Oklahoma City, now losing their third straight. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers post-game show presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment's never ordinary at Bet365, along with Derek, Kyle, I'm Devon, Andrew producing, all of you in the chat. Thanks for hanging out with us after that win. And we know the Birds are playing. We know. We were checking the score too. But thanks for hanging out with us here while things are going on with the Birds. And we get to hang out with you here. As we said, we're presented by Bet365. And we are coming to you from the Xfinity mobile hotline here on this Sunday. A lot to get to, from the temperature check by Ace Hardware, the unsung hero, from the great people from Togo, all of it, the player of the game as well. We'll do it all for you right here on this Sunday evening to discuss this 129-104 loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, Thunder snapped theirs, made it look easy in the second half, and there you have it. That's the show, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow at 3 o'clock right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. But, Derek, let's get started, man, because this one was a close one. 2 points at the half. And you're looking at it, Sixers shooting really well from the field, 50+% from the floor, shooting it great from the three-point line as well. Tyrese Maxey had it going, and Paul George hit a few shots. You had that going. Dembona, as Kyle talked about, looked like a solid contributor to what was happening there. And then the third quarter happened. And while it was Oklahoma City turned it up in the third quarter, winning it by 14. And then things just got out of hand like they kind of do sometimes with the Sixers.
Yeah. Look, Oklahoma City destroyed the Sixers in the third. That has obviously been a season-long trend for the Sixers. I'd love to say they're getting better, but I just checked, and over the last 10 games, I think they have the third worst net rating in the league. Over the last 15 games, I believe they are the second worst. So it's like marginally better, but we're really splitting hairs. It's been awful all year long. But this one didn't really feel like I'm not going to say the Sixers played okay in the third because they didn't. But this one definitely felt like the opponent, I'm not going to use the Doc Rivers phrase, even though I want to, because I don't think there'll be enough people out there that won't get the reference that I'll sound like an idiot. This one felt like Oklahoma City stopped playing with their food. It just like they dialed up the defensive pressure. They adjusted to what the Sixers were doing in the first half. They pretty much took Tyrese Maxey out of the game and made it real tough for him to get downhill. And they tried to deny him the ball. And the other four players on the court just did not do enough for the Sixers to keep them competitive. You know, the Sixers really struggled, I think, with Oklahoma City's pressure. They ended up with, I don't have the turnover numbers right in front of me. It felt like a billion.
23 turnovers 23. To end the game.
And it really is like you finally had a good shooting night on a day where you just couldn't take care of the basketball because you were playing against one of, if not the best defensive teams we've seen in this century. So, like, I think the Sixers struggled. Like, we're going to get into some people who struggled clearly. You know, I do think the third quarter woes are going to be a topic because how could they not? But I also think that in the third quarter, Oklahoma City finally looked at the team I think we expect them to look like. And the first half, I don't want to say that they were sleepwalking the first half, but it didn't feel like you were getting the full Oklahoma City defensive experience. And I think we definitely got that in the second half.
That is a game that shows what happens when a rookie is one of the best players on your team. That essentially what Oklahoma City did for the final 24 minutes. Let's call it final 18 minutes that mattered because it was extended garbage time for the final 5-6 minutes of that game. Essentially what they did was they threw to it Tyrese Maxey. Most of the time he had the ball. They loaded up on his drives. They hard hedged against him on the perimeter at times. They weren't switching so much as just ignoring people on the other side of the floor. And oftentimes the guy one pass away was VJ Edgecombe, and he couldn't throw the ball in the ocean today. And like you say that sometimes, and it's a game where it's like, you like the shots and you even like how the shots look. He just ends up missing them. He was just not even close on probably 2/3 of his shot attempts today, like multiple air balls on threes. His runners were like, he had a runner that barely hit the rim in the first half, had one that barely hit the rim to the side in the second half. And his lack of craft as an interior inside the arc scorer and as a pull-up threat, I thought was just all over that game today. And that's okay, right? We've seen flashes from him recently where the VJ has shown, like, okay, in a year from now, a couple of years from now, as he gets these reps as a pull-up guy, as he gets more of the reps as, you know, the leader of the second unit without Tyrese Maxey, he's going to iron some of this stuff out. The catch and shoot stuff has been good all year, and so you don't overreact to when he does struggle there, as he did today, where he's 2 for 7 from 3, albeit a lot of those are off the dribble type threes. But the Thunder made the choice and said, we will live with VJ doing most of what he wants in the second half. And he did absolutely nothing to punish them. And I think the real shame of it is I thought he started off really well, not just as a scorer, but mostly as a good floor game. I think he had 5 assists in the first half, and a lot of those are on plays where he was able to draw pressure as a ball handler, get downhill, and then find somebody on a drop off, find somebody on a kick out, and had a really good start to the game on that front. But the lack of polish as a scorer, and especially from about 15 feet and in, was all over this game. And that to me was the story of the game and story of the second half when things got away from them.
And since that was the story of the second half, let's make that the Ace Hardware temperature check, where we talk about a player or a team heating up, cooling off. And while the Sixers have lost their third straight, VJ Edgecombe, as Kyle talked about, struggled there in the second half with a lot of pressure on him. Again, make sure you visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project. Kyle, his last 2 games after having that really good stretch of, I believe it was 26, 23, and 26, the 3-point loss to Atlanta, but the wins 23 and 26 against New York away and home against the Dallas Mavericks, and that close win that they had. These last 2, he has scored 10 points in each of those games. And while he has done other things, 5 assists this afternoon, 7 rebounds against the Chicago Bulls, 1 steal, all of that. But the struggles were certainly there, as you just talked about. And he's cooling off right now, at least. As you said, he did some really good things in the first quarter, but when they needed to lean on him there in that second half, he was overall in the second half, as he finished the game off, 1 for 8 in that 15 minutes, where he wasn't able to finish and complete things. The one make was a 3-pointer, and he got to the free throw line 4 times, making just 2 of those. But as you just talked about, the struggles were certainly evident, as he needed to be that guy that we've seen in the past that can carry the offense in times where certain defenses are coming at Tyrese Maxey and others. He can handle that load, but in this case, against a great defense, against a team that Derek said, as he pointed out, decided to turn it up there in the second half after that close first. He just couldn't answer the bell tonight, and the struggles from last game into this one were there.
And I would also say, like, I don't really mind the process behind what happened for him. I thought most of the looks that he took, save for maybe a catch and shoot jumper here and there, the looks he was getting were clean. It was very much like, this is what the defense is presenting to you. And as a member of the starting backcourt, top 3 pick, all this stuff, like, I want VJ Edgecombe taking those shots. I have absolutely no problem with the fact that he ends up going 3 for 16. I would rather he get those reps in, miss these shots badly. You go back, you look at the tape, and VJ, Nick Nurse, coaching staff, teammates can look at him and say, like, you got to make those. Right? Like, there's no bones about it. Those are shots over time VJ Edgecombe's going to have to take and make, because the inside the arc struggles are real. That's been a problem all of this year. Even when he was off to the hot start, it was mostly driven by the 3-point shooting and some stuff that was happening that was unsustainable. So it's not anything to, like, throw the season away, throw the player away, but it was, if not the main reason they lost, it's one of the main reasons. And so he's got to just collect himself, shake this one off. You play Memphis on, Tuesday is the next game. Come back stronger, come back better. And hopefully this is just a blip on what has otherwise been a very good start to his rookie campaign.
Yeah. No, I'm certainly not going to overreact to it. I do think it is emblematic of some of those struggles that we've been talking about, really since he was at Baylor and we were scouting him last year, but those struggles in the half court at the rim. At times, he has moments. He had a stretch there, really just before he got sick against Dallas, against the Knicks, where it looked like he was maybe having a slightly better approach, figuring some things out. That's come back down to earth here over the last 2 games, and it's going to be an up and down season. And look, OKC is one of the best in the league at protecting the rim. Like, they allow the 4th fewest shots at the rim, and I think the lowest field goal percentage at the rim. And that that combination of not a lot of shots and a really low efficiency when you do get them is, it's really tough to navigate. And when you combine the pressure they're able to send you when you do drive, along with how well they can test the rim, it makes it tough for a guy like VJ, who his approach and his touch and his body control is still sort of a work in progress. So yeah, I don't want to, it did feel at times like they were giving VJ that shot from the perimeter in a way that really nobody outside of, like, he had that huge game against Boston and it seemed like the scouting report flipped very quickly. This seemed like the team that was most willing to dare him almost since that game.
No, you can see it too. A lot of times where we've seen over these games where at least the shot, and I'm not saying that it shot, the mechanics of it weren't similar to what we've seen in the past on the good days and on the bad days. But today, a lot of times you would see it and you say, okay, that one looks good. That one's gonna fall for him. And even today, just because some seem rushed, some seemed in rhythm, but coming off his fingertips, it just didn't look like they had much of a chance tonight going against this particular defense, just because of how fast we talked about in the pregame that they are. The way that they scramble, the way that they move, the way that they make you rethink of how you're going to take your shot. I thought I saw some of that in some of the shots tonight. And that's like you guys just pointed out and someone mentioning in the chat, that's okay. This is a guy who is playing now in this season where they are at this point, just under 30 games played this year, and he has missed about 5 games so far this season. That's all right for a guy that they're asking a lot of from day one to come in here and do this. And of course, some of this is going to be more highlighted because of the 2 losses that they just had, and they want to start to again get back in the win column. But in the night, on an afternoon like this where things were struggle, and it was really right there in front of all of us, and you could see where the first half was really good. Derek, you pointed out how in the second half Oklahoma City said, all right, we're done playing with our food. Let's take Tyrese Maxey out of the game. He only took 3 shots in that 9 minutes in that third quarter, and you got nothing else essentially from anybody else. And a lot of these games in the past, they have relied on VJ Edgecombe to do that. He has answered the bell plenty. We're going to see him do it in the future. Just unfortunately, this afternoon against that great basketball team, he could not do it today. It's a learning moment, and he will learn from it. He will get better, and the shots will fall inside the arc, Kyle, as you talked about, and outside the arc, where it's going to look like maybe not as good as that Boston game, but where we've seen him more recently get hot from behind the 3-point line and counting on him to make some of those shots. So the struggles were there. It's unfortunate that we have to, but because we have to give it to someone, a team or a player, and we'll talk about the 3-game losing streak, decided to point out VJ Edgecombe as part of the story as to why things did not go the Sixers' way in the second half with the poor shooting performance that he had. This is the Ace Hardware Temperature Check presented by Ace Hardware Home Services. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project. And he will bounce back against Memphis, Kyle. I'm sure he will. 2 straight games of 10 points. Tough beat for him. This is going to be the longest road trip that he has. They have 2 5-game road trips. These are going to be tough for rookies sometimes, and to see how they respond on the road in these environments. Close game against Chicago where you have a big lead. The home team comes back. Crowd is into it. How do you respond and answer the bell? They could not, they did not in that one. Different situation. You're in it in the first half, but you're going against the champs, where another tough environment where we said it in the pregame show, they can get on top of you. And it's not just them getting on top of you as the fans. It starts on the floor where that great defensive team turns it up and they come in waves at you. And then things start to get out of hands. You get 40-plus points from the bench. they're coming at you where there's just so many things happening. Of course, Shai and Chet doing their part, but then the bench doing what they're doing, and you never get a break. And partly because of they're so fresh with Caruso coming at Edgecombe, Wallace at Edgecombe, Wiggins at Edgecombe, and you just could not get comfortable at all, especially when they're putting all the pressure on you to be the focal point of the offense and taking out Tyrese Maxey in this one. All right, we're going to take our first pause. We come back. We got to get into a little bit more. We have an unsung hero from Togo that we have to get into. We'll talk about that, Paul George as well, and what he didn't do this afternoon, and so much more. Sixers lose 129-104. They have lost their third in a row. Their record falls now to 16-14. It was once at 16-11, everybody, looking pretty good. 16-14 right now after losing their third straight. We'll come back, get into it much, much more right here on the PHLY Sixers postgame show.
And guys, every now and then you're over at a friend's house, you're ready to watch a big game. You get there and their setup is a total mess. Not like power turning off in the middle of a show mess, but a little bit of a mess nonetheless. There's videos lagging, it's buffering, switching between apps and trying to find the game. But if you call yourself a basketball fan, you have to have Xfinity. It's the ultimate sports destination where you can find the best games and your favorite teams all in one place. The way that you watch is next level. Got all the action right in your living room, plus with Xfinity's best picture and sound with enhanced 4K. It's so clear it feels like you're in the arena. On top of that, you get real-time notifications and live stats right on your TV. It's the best seat in the house every time. Next game day, make sure that big fan isn't a big fail. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Restrictions apply. Multi-view requires Xfinity 4K-capable TV box. Guys, everybody's got their favorite hard tea, especially true tonight as you were watching the Eagles game. But have you ever turned the can to read what's in it? You can't because they don't tell you. And while they hide what's inside, Crooked Tea brags about it. Crooked Tea brews real USDA organic tea for real flavor with zero sugar. No fake junk hiding behind the label. What you see is what you drink. So next time you're at the store, flip the can. If you can't find the ingredients, just put it back. Then grab a Crooked Tea. Zero sugar, real tea, and fully transparent. You know what, Philly? Real recognizes real. So why drink the fake stuff? Crooked Tea. The only thing better is a strip sack in the Super Bowl. Visit crookedtea.com to find a store near you.
And we're back here on the PHLY Sixers postgame show. Derek Kyle Devine here. Andrew filling in for Bree on the production side. All of you in the chat, we appreciate it. I do see that we have a super chat from Bernard McCoy as we're talking about OKC walling off Maxey, and all we could do is turn the ball over in the third, stop you with the PG plays, good defense. Man's reflexes are shot for real. That's from Bernard
he
McCoy.
does. So factually that he plays good defense. Unfortunately, he also can't do anything offensively inside the arc at this point, or at least not the last couple of games. And that was certainly a storyline today.
No, he could not. No, he could not. When he got hot from three and hit that one corner three, which was the toughest one of the ones that he made, and he was 4 for 7 from beyond. But to your point, Kyle, 4 for 7 overall, he makes those. But he was 4 for 11 from the floor. In general, also had 4 turnovers, as Bernard is talking about. But he is a good defender still, not good help defender, good on-ball defender. Not a great, but a good one for this basketball team. But yeah, the struggles were there. 4 for 11 overall. Outside of those made 3-pointers, not a good night from Paul George in his return to OKC.
The Sixers as a team had as many turnovers as made shots in that third quarter. Not gonna cut it.
Yeah, I'm so sick of talking about the third quarters. I'm sick of asking about the third quarters when we're in the press conference room and it's like, so Nick, you're going to come up with a solution to this, or do you have any theories on it? Like, the players are tired of being asked about it, but at some point it has to get better. Just one last quick thing on the VJ stuff before I let loose on Paul a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think the problem today, as he struggled, is that Grimes still shooting the ball poorly, right? He was in foul trouble in the first half and made a couple, but he goes 3 for 9 from 3, 3 for 10 from the field. So you can't just say, all right, Quentin is going to play those minutes. Jared was better offensively today, and maybe that's a silver lining we'll get to eventually. But I thought this was the most noticeably poor defensive game for McCain. I thought he got lost on a lot of ball screens or off-ball screens, just got absolutely wiped out. There were some plays where he just not big enough. So, if you're going to say, hey, you got to sub him in for VJ and get VJ off the floor in that way, I don't think that was super viable today. Justin Edwards plays well in the first half and then was an absolute train wreck in the minutes that mattered in the second half. Had a sequence at the end of the third quarter where he turned the ball over on one of the worst 5-foot passes in the history of basketball and then commits a foul with 0.8 seconds left in the third quarter. I don't know if I've ever seen a player as bad at the end of quarters in those 2-for-1 type situations as Justin Edwards has been all year. He's been basically a guaranteed stupid foul in that situation. So just like, yes, they shot the ball well as a team and they got contributions from other guys today, but they just didn't have a lot of things going as a group outside of Maxey in the first half. And so it makes it tough, right? And in theory, that is where a Paul George is supposed to step in and carry the load and offer, if not number one scoring option, at least like number two as a sidekick to someone like Tyrese Maxey. But what you saw in the second half, but most of the game for sure, is that he's just not getting by guys. That against the level of perimeter defender that is the average perimeter defender on the Thunder, Paul George can't get by them. And while he has a very, very, very good handle for a guy who is his size, it's also for his size. And the guys that they are throwing at him are so low to the ground, they're able to poke at him and just bother him as he tries to get to his spots. So he basically was a stationary catch and shoot type player is the only way he was making an impact today. That is not the ROI you want when you're paying someone $50+ million a year.
No, but it is kind of where he is at this stage. Like he is catch and shoot. At times when he has a big night, it'll be shooting over top of the defense, which he can do every now and then, but it's tough to be consistent playing that style of basketball. He's just not going to get by guys all that often. And when everything is working right, I know Kyle's mentioned this before, when everything's working right, he's kind of like your fourth option at times. Well, you've got Joel Embiid out of the lineup tonight. You've got VJ Edgecombe, who we just spent the first block talking about really, really struggling. You need Paul George to step up and be like that number two option. And it's real tough for him to do that with any kind of consistency. And it's definitely tough for him to do that against a defense like the one we saw here tonight in OKC. So the ROI on that max contract isn't going to be great. When everything is working perfectly, he's going to be a real good additive piece, but he's definitely going to frustrate you at times. And today was like tailor-made for him to be a frustrating player.
No, it was, man, because on the 11 shots, you could see some of the fadeaway stuff that he does in that mid-range where, Kyle, he didn't do all the dribble where you pointed out the one from Io
against
DeSumo
Chicago.
The other night. But in this case, he got to a couple of the spots that we've seen him make that shot plenty of times over his career, but sometimes that lift is just not going to be there. And when you're going against some of the longer defenders that they were going against this afternoon, or some of the physical ones where it's Lou Dort, or Jalen Williams is still really good, even though he's rounding back in form after the injury, then you have Chet Holmgren coming over and so many of these other players that it's just tough. And even though he can get to his spot, it's not a clean get to your spot. And when you get to that spot, you've already pretty much had it in your mind that this is what you're going to do. So I'm going to take that 15-foot fadeaway from the elbow, but it's defended a little bit different than some of these other than he may have seen when he has gotten hot over the past couple of weeks. So that's where I saw some of it. And the one thing with him is he can still get hot, but it's only probably going to be for about 3 games in a row where you see it that way, where he can play consecutive games, have those big moments, put up some decent numbers while still contributing in a two-way capacity out there on the floor. And then you're going to get this when you're going against a really good team like the Oklahoma City Thunder and some of the others, where it's simply just not going to be his that night, especially when he is being elevated into that second or third scoring role. It all comes together in the wrong time for him. The time is just all wrong for him and the team because he cannot bring them home. He cannot do it consistently enough to help them pick up that win. So that's kind of what I saw from him today, and especially with the opponent, that's a tough one. That's really going to be a tough one when you have to do that against that Oklahoma City team. And as Derek pointed out, when they play the way that they did in the first half and the Sixers are in it, they're only down 2. So when they decided to really turn it up in that third quarter, Paul George is getting nothing because he's not going to be running the way that the others are going to run. He's not going to do that. They're not going to give you any of those opportunities in transition. And if he is, it's going to be in the trail spot. He's going to be a trail man, and who knows how that's going to play out. So you're just relying on the half court work from Paul George, and that's probably not what's best suited when VJ Edgecombe is not having his night. Joel Embiid is not on the floor, and they're sending this specific type of defense at Tyrese Maxey where he has to get it to the first release valve and not being able to scan the floor the way that he may want to find an even better shot opportunity for his teammates, which could be Paul George on a weak side opportunity, let's say, instead of it being VJ Edgecombe in the corner on that strong side when he drives and has to kick just to get the ball out of his hands to avoid any turnover possibility. So that's, again, when Embiid is not there and they're trying to take Tyrese Maxey away, Edgecombe is off, they're going to lean on Paul George, and most nights it's not going to go his way either.
Yeah, look, I'm with you guys from the perspective of I don't expect Paul to be able to bend defenses at this point. He is a player that he's always been a tough shot maker to some extent, but that was a smaller piece of the puzzle for him when he was younger and more athletic, could consistently get
to the spots. I'll pick it up right there. Get to the spots.
That was everybody. That wasn't just me.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know what was going on over there. Yeah,
okay.
Both of your cameras went out too, so you can check the tape on that one, Mr. Xfinity over there. Anyway, Paul at this point is not going to bend you. And the problem against OKC is they have so many athletes and so many good defenders in the rotation that even if he is able to get a step on somebody, the help is going to come. And when that help comes, even if Paul's able to make the passing read, the rotations on both sides of or all over the floor are going to be so quick that the advantage is gone, right? He is never going to create enough separation to put them in jeopardy and mess up the structure of their defense. They, against much better offensive teams, much more organized and disciplined offensive teams, fly around the floor and you think you have an opening and it's gone. I think another example tonight was Jared McCain, and again, played a pretty good offensive game. Jared McCain had like a half open three from the trail spot on a possession where they swung the ball around, and he passed out of it, stepped out of it, and the shot never came again. He ends up on the sideline or on the left wing, and he steps out of bounds. They turn the water off because if you do not take advantage of your one opportunity to get an open look, you're probably not going to get a second one because their consistency with which they play on defense is at such a high level that I don't know how you beat them running things through someone like Paul George. It's an impossible puzzle to solve for the highest level teams. The Sixers are not a high level team. They're 16-14 for a reason.
All right, let's take our next pause here on the show. We'll come back. We'll get to our Togo unsung hero, discuss some of the other players here on the team, how things played out this afternoon as the Sixers fall 129-104, 16-14. As Kyle said, they were 116-11, and they have 3 games left on this road trip with Memphis next up on Tuesday. Breaking it all down for you right here on the PHLY Sixers postgame show.
Let me tell you about a local business that's been helping Philly homeowners and businesses stay pest-free. That's Evans Pest Control. This isn't some giant national chain. They are a family-owned, community-focused pest control company right here in the Philly area, and they've been earning the trust of our neighbors for years. And with the holidays around, I've said this to you before when talking about Evans Pest Control, they have your back because there will be a lot of crumbs, a lot of families, the little ones, the adults that don't clean up behind themselves. It's all there for you that you have to clean up, and you might miss a crumb here or there, and you don't want any uninvited guests. So with that, they know how to show up whenever, not the unwanted pests. I'm talking about the family and doing their part. So make sure that you get in with Evans Pest Control. So if you see signs of pets or just want to prevent them before they start, reach out to Evans Pest Control. Visit evanspestmgmt.com to schedule your free consultation. That's Evans Pest Control at evanspestmgmt.com.
What kind of resolutions do you have for the new year? Is it starting that business that you want? Maybe opening up some sort of store that you had in mind, something that you had as a kid, and you want to get that going as the new year hits. And well, that is the case. Then how about now, the perfect time with Shopify, the great place that we partner with here at PHLY for our merch store, and you should do the same as well. Shopify is the e-commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US. Shopify has you covered with website creation, product descriptions, email, social media marketing, and more. They also have AI tools designed to help you maximize sales. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into cash. Cha-ching with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/allcity. That's shopify.com/allcity. Back here on the PHLY Sixers postgame show with the guys, presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. All right, let's get on over to the Togo Unsung Hero, presented by Togo, the leader in operations outsourcing. Let Togo handle the work that gets in the way of your work. You call the plays, we execute at Togo. Kyle, I want to start with you because you brought up this guy a little bit earlier in the pregame show, and Adem Bona came in his 28 minutes. He was 3 for 4 from the floor, had 8 rebounds, 4 block shots, and 11 points, and looked like the guy that, when we talk about him in a positive, of course, it's this guy. He was good in his minutes. If we're to pull any positive out of it, the minutes that he provided in the 28 plus for Nick Nurse's team, he was pretty good.
I think the most important thing from that game was that was a different type of Adem Bona on offense. I don't think we saw much of anything different on defense compared to, the average Adem Bona game. Adem is going to block shots. Adem is going to switch freely and occasionally pick up a foul here and there. And when I say occasionally, I mean all the time. But he's going to do exactly what we saw him do on defense. I think the composure that we saw from him on offense was at a different level than we're used to seeing. I think as a playmaker, while he was a bit slow and deliberate, he had a few really nice reads from the middle of the floor where they're overplaying Maxey, they're overplaying VJ, and he's in a short roll. And Adem did a really good job of just 2 hands on the ball, secure it, survey the floor, find where the opening is. Sometimes that was going to be kicking it back out, finding a shooter. I think Justin Edwards got a 3 directly off of one of Adem's short roll plays as a passer. Other times it was just, I have a runway to the rim. I take 1 step, 1 dribble, whatever it might be, rise up, and I'm either going to lay it up, dunk it, or get fouled. Did a really good job at the free throw line tonight as well. He's 5 of 6 from the line, which you certainly don't take that for granted for him, but that's something that he's got to be consistent there moving forward as he tries to carve out a bigger role. I just thought he did a good job at the things that we normally think he struggles with, or we normally say, like, he's not good at this, he's not consistent at this yet. So it's a game that you're going to look back and say, and he had 8 rebounds too, 6 offensive rebounds, 8 rebounds overall. A few of those are on plays where he's just going up and high pointing the ball. Like, that's the type of rebound an athlete of his caliber I want to see make more and more often. So I think it's a game and a data point where you say, all right, this is positive progression is being made. Like, there's a little bit of an upward trend. This is not just a young player who's not good enough. This is a young player who's inconsistent right now. And maybe with time, maybe with more reps, he's going to be able to get there and be an every night type of player eventually. Really good game for him. Hopefully he's able to string together 2 and 3 and 4 games And then we can start talking about maybe he supplants Andre Drummond as the right now normal backup to Joel Embiid.
Yeah, and this was the kind of game where it was a good reminder of why you have to let him play through some of his struggles. And I say that not only like as a criticism of Nick Nurse, but like something that I feel as well. Because every now and then you watch him play 22 minutes and come down with no defensive rebounds and pick up 5 fouls. And you go, just get this guy off the floor. I can't watch him.
Yeah.
Like when Joel Embiid's in game, get him out of the rotation, Drummond's back up, move on with life. When he proves himself, you can give him a second chance. But today was a pretty good example of like, that's a flawed philosophy. Drummond is just not good enough to be your everyday backup center. He's not good enough to be the one when Joel's out to be getting 35 minutes per night. And you have so much invested in Bona, both long-term, obviously, because he's so much younger than Drummond, but also even in the short term, because they're just going to be matchups like tonight where Drummond is not going to be a feasible big minute center. Like he's just not going to be able to hang defensively against this team. So you need to get the best version of Adem that you can. Sometimes that will mean sending him to the bench for a game or two if he is not doing what he needs to, not playing within the defensive system, not, following the team concept. But he has to be brought back into that rotation eventually because he's just, first of all, he's capable of doing things that you're going to need on a per matchup basis. And you just need him to figure it out. And he needs to be given a chance to figure it out. I do think we joked before the game, like he might foul out in 10 minutes. Well, he played 28 and only picked up 3. And I was pretty impressed with that. Then when you add in some of the defensive highlight plays that he made, then you add in the 6 offensive rebounds, the vertical presence he had near the rim as a rim runner and a lob threat. It was, the first half before the third quarter happened, this was going to be a pretty big story. Now, obviously then the third quarter happened. They puked all over themselves. Everybody couldn't handle the pressure, and we're talking about a huge loss instead. But I really do think that first half was, and I think Kyle mentioned this as well in Discord, possibly the best he's played all year.
Yeah.
And even on, as you pointed out, Derek, the highlight plays that he did have, a few of those on those blocks. I remember the one against Hartenstein where he got it clean. And you can look at that where some of them Bona plays where he's so overly aggressive, that's a foul. And not just worrying about the goaltender, just worrying about when he hits the body of the player and he doesn't get the basketball clean, and that's a foul. But as both of you pointed out, how under control he was defensively, but more importantly, as we saw here too, the offensive stuff, because he was under control, finding his teammates when he did have the basketball. Sometimes we would see him too in spots where he would get an offensive rebound and it just wasn't a good idea for him to go back up and try to get a bucket. Instead, giving his teammate a chance to make a play, make a shot, and he did that tonight. And even with the 8 rebounds overall, tonight was a night, or this afternoon was a night where 6 offensive rebounds were there. Still would like to see him get the defensive rebounds, but they weren't too far away overall as a team. I mean, they won the boards tonight, but I still would like him to see those defensive rebounds collected a little bit more from Adem Bona. The offensive rebounds, we know, like you guys said, we know he can do stuff on the defense. We give him the credit for it because he's keeping himself out there on the floor and doing those things. I know he can offensive rebound, giving him the second chance points. Would love to still see him pick up some more defensive rebounds also as a center, especially if he's going to move in that primary backup role or over the course of time behind Embiid. And so he can be someone that you can count on to corral those rebounds and not have to worry about the forwards and the guards always being the ones to pick those up, from Barlow to George and even Walker when they're out there on the floor. So that's just me. Again, I know we always talk about it, but I did want to point it out. Great that he had the 6 rebounds on the offensive end. Would love to get a few more on the defensive side of the ball as well to go along with the solid play in general. The Togo, unsung hero, Adem Bona. Even in a tough situation, 129-104 loss, Adem Bona is the unsung hero presented by Togo, the leader in operations outsourcing. Let Togo handle the work that gets in the way of your work. You call the plays, we execute at Togo. All right, when we come back, final segment, and we'll look at some of the other players there on the roster of what happened tonight from the bench role players as well. And where was Dominic Barlow tonight? Where was Jabari Walker? Was the Jabari Walker side of things simply, let's save a game? I don't want to use Derek's word, but let's save a game and, extend that number a little bit.
But they did. He still ended up playing in garbage time, so
Right.
he was available.
Right.
So they didn't save anything.
Right. And then they play him anyway. So let's save a game, and then I'm going to play him anyway. Where was he? So let's talk about some of that when we get back. It's the Sixers post-game show presented by Bet365.
Philly sports fans, I need you to listen up. It's the season of gifting. We're past Christmas at this point, but maybe you're going to see someone that you needed to get a Christmas gift, and you're looking for something truly unforgettable, and you left it to this moment. I've got the perfect idea for you. You got to check out the incredible work from Philadelphia sports artist Jordan Spector over at SpectorSportsArt.com. I own some of Jordan's pieces myself. They aren't just posters you hang on the wall. They're museum-level artwork of the greatest moments and icons in Philly sports history. His collection comes in prints, canvases, even athlete-partnered trading cards. One of the newest cards actually includes a piece of Brandon Graham's game-worn jersey for that matchup in New Orleans. Remember, against the Chiefs, doesn't get more authentic than that. If you've got a diehard sports fan in your life, or maybe you just want to treat yourself, it's the kind of gift that they, or maybe you, will talk about forever. So head on over right now to SpectorSportsArt.com. That's SpectorSportsArt.com. Grab something epic for the Philly fan in your life.
Guys, do you really want Joel Embiid leading the fast break? He certainly does, but that can get you into some trouble. It's not worth the risk. You want to keep your stars focused on doing what they do best. The same goes for your business. You don't want your top people buried in operations, the tedious, time-consuming, redundant activities that wear the team down. Togo can help any business looking to reduce operating costs become more efficient or unlock more time for their best people. From customer service and accounting to order management, logistics, admin, data entry, and even complex multi-step operational processes, they take it off your plate at a fraction of the cost. Every engagement starts with free process mapping and engineering. No cost, no commitment. They don't bill you a dime until the real work begins. With programs starting as low as $1,000 a month, you're not going to break the bank. Each Togo program includes dedicated staff, custom automations, and US-based process engineers who act as your quarterback, giving you complete control, total transparency, and instant efficiency. At Togo, you call the plays, they execute. Visit harnesstogo.com, scale smarter, work faster, and stay focused on winning.
129-104 is the final score in Oklahoma City. Sixers fall. We are back here on the PHLY Sixers postgame show. Everybody, make sure that you go and you read the postgame. Go make sure you read all the great postgame work that Kyle put in there at allphly.com. Go check out the words there as well. Make sure you're a diehard member at allphly.com. Go sign up. Maybe gift somebody that for the new year as we're rolling into the new year so they can get all the great sports coverage from the PHLY network, all once again at allphly.com. All right. Derek, Dominic Barlow tonight, this afternoon, 25 minutes, 26 seconds. Even though he was out there for 25 minutes, didn't seem like it. He was 1 for 4 from the floor, had 4 boards, 2 assists, 2 points, but it just didn't seem like he was out there and didn't get the same type of Dominic Barlow game that we're accustomed to.
Yeah. He did have that one yes assist where it looked like he was on the edge of catastrophe for the entire time he was driving. Then he found Andre Drummond for a nice little dump off pass. It was maybe the only real offensive highlight that either of those two had in this one.
Mm-hmm.
I am a little surprised he didn't get a little bit more time just because it seemed like he really could have used his mobility on defense, but it also didn't really feel like he was impacting the game defensively like he normally does. It was a pretty nondescript Dom Barlow game, which, again, in a normal game, you'd go, all right, 25, he wasn't really impacting all that much. But, Justin Edwards made shots, but boy, did he have a 5-minute stretch there where he looked completely lost. You had another complete stinker from Quentin Grimes, and Quentin Grimes only got 22 minutes, but still just a complete stinker. You had a decent game offensively, but a disaster defensively from Jared McCain. So there were certainly, I think, minutes to be had for Barlow in that rotation. But like I said, he wasn't making quite the impact. Even still, I thought his activity on defense was good, even if it wasn't as productive as it normally is.
Some of the struggle for him was Chet Holmgren just shot over him to start that game. Yeah. There are a few possessions where he had Chet in the mid post. He stands him up. Chet just shooting right over him. And that's a very good player. That's a top 3 pick. That's a guy who has been very, very good this year on both ends of the floor. And sometimes you have to say, look, The other guy's just better. It's no real shame in Dom Barlow, a two-way player, not being quite as good as Chet Holmgren. And I think I would have liked to see a little bit more small ball from the Sixers tonight, because Andre Drummond was a catastrophe.
Yep.
He was, compared to Barlow, Barlow was anonymous would be the word I would use. Drummond was loudly bad. Drummond was, he tried to take it to Chet Holmgren at times in the first half. And
that crossover, that should have been the WTF moment of the night by far.
Well, he had 3 or 4. That was the problem. Drummond.
No, but the crossover, like, you got to know better, Andre. Come on now. You are an old-ass man in this league. You got to know you can't cross him over.
So there was the crossover attempt where he basically just ended up throwing it out of bounds. There were plays around the rim where he tried to leverage the strength and weight advantages, and Chet just very smartly waited until Andre got close enough to the rim and just reached up, and whether he blocked the shot or just made it so difficult that Andre threw some junk up at the rim, he did a very good job of kind of baiting Andre into the exact sort of possessions that the Thunder wanted. And then the other end of the floor, I would say, was even worse, where it felt like, okay, so he threw the ball over Andre's head 7, 8, 9 different times. I don't know what the actual count ended up being, but he was horrendous on both ends of the floor and has not been very good recently. I think overall in the season has been pretty good, but it's been a tough stretch here for Andre. So with the Dem playing as well as he did, and with the style of ball that OKC tends to play, I think I probably would have leaned into Barlow at the 5 a little bit more. I know you mentioned Jabari Walker, Devon, and saving him, and I think that one, my guess is they probably didn't feel confident enough in him guarding his matchup, or whatever his matchup would have been. Compared to Barlow, he is more of a straight up 4 or 5 type defender, where at least Barlow has some switchability. You put him in space and he can stay in front of guys. But yeah, aside from Adem, there's really nobody that did well for themselves in the front court today. Like, he's the one guy that you say he played well. I don't know what the rest of you jokers are doing out there.
Yeah. Also, real quick, because you mentioned it earlier, the rule is you get up to 50 games where you can be active. Whether you play or not doesn't matter. It's whether you're active. And clearly he was active because he was put in the game very late. So that was not the – as much as I love a good ducking the tax joke, they could have used him earlier if they felt like it was a good matchup for him.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, but it wasn't that much better in the backcourt either. Even though guys did come off the bench and score in double figures, all of them did. Grimes with 13, McCain with 10, and Justin Edwards just as a wing player. He made shots. He made 4 threes of his 7. As you guys pointed out, he also had a disastrous stretch there. Had 5 boards as well with the 12 points. But, with it, it just wasn't enough. Grimes is the one I really wanted to focus on, as he went 3 for 10 for his 13. Got to the foul line, 4 for 4, and he was 3 for 9 from behind the 3-point line, 3 assists, 2 boards. But again, it just didn't seem like he had one of those good impacts. He got 3 fouls early in his run in the first half, and he had to sit. And things are just sped up for him right now, where it doesn't look like the under control Quentin Grimes, Kyle.
Well, I think in fairness to Grimes, I know I brought up the 3 for 9 from 3 thing earlier. I probably skewed a little bit, but I think at least one of those was in garbage time, where it's like, who cares about him missing a shot down 25 with 4 minutes left. So probably a little bit better offensive game than maybe it looks like on paper. But still, just overall, he is not in a good spot right now. And I think that when he isn't shooting at a high level, scoring at a high level, you really focus more on all the little things and little details. Like, to be on your second foul and commit the third foul that he did tonight in the first half is just, it's inexcusable. A guy who's been in the league for 5 years now, who is a legitimate veteran and knows this is a team, this is the best team, the reigning champions, they're 27-5, whatever their record is at this point. You need every single guy that you have, and that they want to draw fouls. You can't take the cheapies. You can't just wildly swing at the ball and reach across the guy's arms and pick up your third foul in the first half when you're already down Joel Embiid, you're down Kelly Oubre, you're down Trendon Watford. They need you and they need your minutes out there. It's the type of decision that you just look at them and say, like, I don't know what you were thinking on that one. And there are a lot of those from him, but I think generally he has kept the bad decision making to offense this year, like the occasional ridiculous pass, or maybe he's just a little overzealous on a drive. I think the thing that's been concerning for me recently is that I think his defense has slipped as well. And so it's been in tandem. It's been kind of, he's good at everything or he's good at nothing. Mm-hmm. And so feast or famine is not ideally what I want out of him. I want Quentin Grimes, and I know this is easy to say, but I want Quentin Grimes to be a guy who, if he's 2 for 8 from 3 or 2 for 8 from the field, I need him on the other end of the floor, really bought in on defense and making up for it on the other end of the floor. And that hasn't really been the case during the stretch. We talked about Derek and I on Friday night in the Chicago game. He was specifically a target of Nick Nurse's ire, where when they had that awful stretch in the first half, he yanked him and put Justin Edwards in for him. So hopefully he doesn't allow this to continue snowballing, but this has not been a good stretch of basketball for him.
No, and I do agree that his offensive struggles seem like they're seeping into his defensive focus a little bit. And that third foul was inexcusable. I do hope that at least like 3 threes from Quentin Grimes in the game, including a couple of them which were pretty tough. Like they were the, catch the ball, rise up, shoot over your defender kind of catch and shoot shots that he thrives on. Seeing the ball go in the basket maybe will hopefully get him back on track a little bit, because I do still think he is the catch and shoot shot I still trust. A lot of the off the dribble stuff obviously can get to be an adventure, but the catch and shoot, if he just gets back to playing his game, a catch and shoot, movement without the ball, play good defense, I do still think he can be a helpful player, but it's been a couple of weeks since we've seen that version of Quentin. Hopefully he's seeing the ball go through, even if his minutes were limited a little bit because of first half foul trouble, even if his numbers maybe weren't all that good because by the end of the game it was, you were in garbage time. Maybe just seeing that ball go through a couple times can get it so that, in Memphis we get a better version of Quentin.
Well, that'll be the next game up for the Sixers on Tuesday night. Of course, we'll have pregame for you right here on the PHLY Sixers pregame show with the three of us. Should be an entertaining one. We'll see if Joel Embiid is available. He's on the trip, saw him on the bench there. Obviously played in the game against Chicago, so he's still there with them. We'll see what happens with Joel Embiid for Tuesday. And finally, as we get ready we'll sign off here in just a few minutes, but 3 games left on this trip, and it would be nice if they picked up a couple of them, certainly, but these 2 they drop here. But as we look at some of the things that they have done over these 2 games, and we see how they can turn things around. Look, I mean, the one thing, this was bad. Only 35 made field goals to the 50 on the other side for OKC, but it was encouraging though, Kyle, to see them knock down 17 threes, as you talked about the part where Quentin Grimes made his, Justin Edwards comes off the bench, he makes his 4, same thing for Paul George making his. It was nice to just see them make 3-pointers where we're not looking at such a lopsided number of, they shot 35% from 3 instead. On the afternoon, they shot 39% from the field. From 3 on 17 of 43 attempts, and that's pretty good. And maybe that can carry over to the next game.
Yeah, I know that Derek said, and I mostly agree with him, but Derek said, you hate to basically waste a good shooting performance against a team like this and in a game like this where you lose by 25. I do hope that for some guys, and particularly someone like Jared McCain, who's struggled basically the entire year, that seeing a couple go down is all right, deep breath. I'm finding my center. I'm finding my rhythm here. And we can get a game where Jared McCain scores 20 points and hits 5 threes. And Quentin Grimes, seeing a few goes down, turns into, all right, we're playing the Memphis Grizzlies, much worse team. I'm going to go out there and I will give some real secondary scoring, a lift off the bench, and help power us to win. You never really know what it's going to take for guys to break out of slumps and for a team to just get on an offensive roll. It is kind of the nature of how the league has gone, where because it's so built around and predicated on the three-point shot, it's a lower percentage shot on the averages. And so there will be periods of the season where you're just not going to shoot the ball well. You are going to have cold spells. The key as a team is to have other avenues to impact the game and to score points. It's why something like Joel Embiid's free throw drawing and foul drawing and free throw ability has been so critical for this team over the years. And hopefully the ankle issue that we mentioned on the pregame show that was the reason Joel missed today's game against OKC, hopefully that's not as big of a deal so they can get him back against Memphis. They need to continue getting these games under their belts where all the big three are available and everyone is figuring out what this ecosystem needs to look like.
Yeah, it's a good point, because I think a lot of people have convinced themselves that the team functions better, specifically your guards, when Joel Embiid is not on the floor. And I think the last two games have reinforced that for some people. I think it's wrong. And I think if you go back and look at the stats throughout the season, almost every guard is more efficient and more effective when Embiid is on the floor. And I think every now and then you need a game like this where, you know, Joel's not there, Grimes still struggles, VJ still struggles, to remind yourself, like, if you want to actually have a chance of beating some of these elite teams, it's not just getting Embiid back on the floor, it's getting all three of them on the floor so they have a chance to build chemistry. The only version of this team that matters, and you might not ever get it, and I fully acknowledge that, is one where all three have played enough minutes where they feel comfortable on the floor together, where they know where each other wants to be, where they're playing off of each other and it becomes second nature. It's never been like that. It's clearly never been like that. They've never had enough time to make it like that. But even if they frustrate you in a day in, day out basis, just getting reps together would be so great for the rest of the season that I hope we're finally in a spot, knock on wood, where we can start to do that.
All right. Before we get ready to say goodbye on the roll call, we'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. for our show. Show to start the week off. 3 p.m. show, no game, so we have a 3 p.m. show. Hope to see you all then. And tonight, for the rest of the PHLY network, you have the post-game show for the PHLY Eagles crew, currently in a watch-along. So when we're done here, you can go hang out with them. And at 7:30, the PHLY Flyers get ready for a pregame show for the Flyers taking on the Seattle Kraken. So you join them at 7:30 as well, plus post-game for them a little bit later on. Hopefully they get a W. Right now, the Birds are in a fight, as expected, with the Buffalo Bills. So get ready for another close one in the end for the Philadelphia Eagles this evening, and we'll see if they can pull out the win. Make sure you hang out with the PHLY Eagles crew. Let's get to the world famous as we close the show out. It's time for the roll call.
Oh, better fly through this one, boys. Thank you, everyone, for being here with us on a busy Philly Sports Sunday. Thank you to Kyle Wright, to SB Cole, Music Lover, Larry K, Ron Burton, Lost Sleep TV, The Court Jester 007, Val, Jess, my girl Nona.
Hey, ladies.
Yams in the building. Mellow 3 Point
Mellow, my
in
man.
the building. Bernard McCoy with a super chat today. Hello, Bernard. Hope you're doing well. Who else we got in here today? Mac Tumon in the building today. PHLY guy hanging out with us. Return of the Mac is right. I Gavini, of course, my friend Will. Jay the Jungle.
What up, Jay?
Benjamin is here. Was also in the Discord today, hanging out with us. Thank you to Dom G. Thank you to Headfa. Thank you to Doc Philly, our crazy guy in the Discord chat each and every day, yelling about Nick Nurse somewhere out there. Hopefully, is that
the first time that a Discord member who wasn't even on the live or the post game live stream got a shout out?
I'm just making sure we say hello to all our people. Thank you, everyone who is here. Thank you to Andrew producing on the back end. Guys, on the way out, please hit the thumbs up button and hit the like. It does a lot for us and the channel, much more than you realize. We will be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. at our typical time for a daytime show. Until then, stay safe, take care of one another. Goodbye and go Birds.
See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.